Eric Partin saw his first ghost when he was 12. It happened 20 days after they kidnapped him. The house where they kept him was set back from the road, just out of the reach of the streetlights, in a pool of darkness. Eric's room was on the 3rd floor. He had one window, and it looked out on a patch of woods behind the house. He tried to break the window on his 2nd day, but it was made of some hard plastic that he couldn't even dent. It let light into the room, but the outside world looked hazy through its pane, like seeing the world through a thick, dirty pair of glasses. The room smelled strongly of sawdust and cleaning solution, though his captors hadn't so much as mopped since he arrived. After nearly 3 weeks, all the notions he'd entertained of escape were long gone. There was no way out of this room except through the door, and that was triple-bolted on the outside. They'd removed everything that could possibly be used as a weapon. The toilet in his small attached bathroom had neither a seat nor a lid on its tank. The only piece of furniture was a mattress on the floor. The pathetic bed had no sheets, as if he could use those against his captors somehow. Just a thin blanket and a caseless pillow. There wasn't much to do except stare out the dingy window at the trees and wonder how his life had turned so awful so quickly. 20 days ago, he'd been walking home from another day of 6th grade when a van had pulled up beside him. 2 men had jumped out, and the next thing he knew, he was speeding away from his old life. They'd drugged him, and sometime later, they'd arrived here and thrown him in this room. His captors hadn't been cruel since that van ride. They hadn't been particularly kind either. Mostly, they'd ignored him, only entering the room to bring him meals. That somehow made things worse. He had no idea why they'd taken him. Were they trying to get ransom money from his parents? If so, they'd be disappointed. The Partins could hardly afford their car payment, let alone a sack of cash for kidnappers. Eric did, however, know that he wasn't the first kid they'd taken. He knew it from the casual ease with which they were handling the situation and the way they seemed to have all the kinks worked out in their little system. But he also knew it from the initials scratched into the baseboard near the mattress. M.N. His best friend Matt's initials. A strange coincidence that both comforted him and made him feel even more homesick. He wondered how the kid had scratched his initials into the plaster. Had he had a tool of some kind? Or had he simply done it with his fingernails? A familiar click came from the door, followed by a second, then a third. Eric froze, filled with a sudden, powerful terror, the way he always was when the door opened. They'd only brought him meals so far, but he knew someday they would come for some other purpose, and then he'd find out why they'd taken him. The door opened, and a man Eric had never seen before stepped into the room. He was tall and thin, and younger than the others. Eric guessed he was in his 30s. He carried a folding chair under his arm. As soon as he stepped inside, the door closed behind him, and the 3 locks clicked shut. Eric's breathing sped up, and he pressed his back against the wall. "It's okay," the man said. "I just want to talk." Eric doubted that very highly, but he said nothing. The man slowly unfolded the chair, set it 2 feet in front of Eric's mattress, and sat down. "I'm sure you have lots of questions." He paused. Of course Eric had questions. He had dozens of questions. Hundreds. Why had they taken him? Would he ever see his family again? What were they going to do with him now?